to The Dream Show. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson, and this is episode 293. So I've just finished recording the conversation with my guest, podcast host Sam Ramachander, who lives in Melbourne, Australia. We explored her dreams and looked at how they relate to her life. Sam Ramachander is a chartered accountant with experience in finance within Australian corporates, and she's a life enthusiast who believes that learning in life never stops. Together with her partner Bala, she hosts the Level Up with Sam and Bala podcast, bringing authentic conversations that inspire growth and learning. So first up, Sam shares her dreams. Yes, she brings 3. As always, I ask our guests not to tell me anything about their dream until we start recording. In my work with clients, I ask people to send me their dreams the day before, so I have time to consider them before we speak. But I know from feedback from our audience that you enjoy hearing how the process unfolds when I have no prior knowledge of the dream. Sam shares how her dreams relate to her life, and from there, our conversation ranges both wide and deep, exploring what Sam has learned from her podcast guests and from the work of creating her podcast series. Before we go to my conversation with Sam, here's a reminder of my dream resources. My website is janeteresa.com. That's Teresa without an H, where you can listen to every episode of The Dream Show right back to episode 1. You can also access the most recent ones on all the usual podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Also on my website, you can read hundreds of blogs on dreams and dreaming that I've written over the years, find out about my books, both non-fiction and fiction, my courses, and how to consult me about your dreams. At the end of my chat with Sam, we share her contact details, and these are also in the show notes. So let's go on with the show. Welcome to The Dream Show, Sam. Have you had a good day?
I've had a lovely day. Thank you for having me on your show, Jane. I'm super excited for today's episode.
That's right, me too. And I have in the past been a guest on your show, so you are here also as a podcast host, and you're on the other end of it today.
Oh, yes, I am on the other end. And very first time for me to be on the other end of it.
So
I'm nervous as well.
Yeah, not only on the other end of it, but talking about dreams as well. So completely in deep to start with. So, as usual, I have no idea what dreams you've got or what you're going to ask me. So over to you.
Oh wow! Oh, that's the tricky one because I've got heaps. All right. So, I remember talking to you about couple of dreams when you were on my podcast, and I reckon for the purpose of your audience, I reckon I might bring a couple of them as well, if that's okay with you.
Yes.
So my recurring dream that I have had since childhood is I feel like when I'm in deep sleep, I am falling down, and then I'll suddenly hit the floor, and I'll just like with a jerking motion, and I'll wake myself up. And I've had this, honestly, I can't even count on my fingers how many times I've had this, but I've had this many, many times. And so this is a common one that happens even now, like as an adult, I have this dream. It feels so real that I'm falling from somewhere. I was like, oh, is it that my brain is telling me to go skydiving? But what do you think? What do you think is going on there?
Did you say it happens when you're falling asleep, or is it in the middle of the night, this dream?
In the middle of the night.
In the middle of the night. Because some people have that sensation when they're falling asleep, and it's because your brain is turning off your muscles from working so that you don't get out of bed and act out your dreams. And that bodily, physical, relax often
Yeah.
your mind takes over and goes, I'm falling. We're actually falling asleep, but my body's relaxing. But yours is a real dream, a dream in the middle of the night. So in your dream, you're falling. Have you any idea, it may sound like a silly question, but have you any idea how you're feeling in the dream when you're falling?
Just feeling the gravity, honestly. I don't think there is any emotion there from memory now as I think back. It's just that, oh, I'm falling and I'm falling fast, like a roller coaster coming down or, yeah, just like free fall type feeling. That's
Free
it.
fall, which is why you mentioned possibly parachuting or jumping out of
Yeah.
a plane. So
Yeah.
a tinge of excitement or not even that, just an observation?
Nothing at all. Nothing there. No sadness, no happiness, no sort of emotion whatsoever. It's just that I know all I can feel is I'm falling.
And you hit the floor and then what happens? Hit the ground?
Uh, just wake up like it's just emotion.
Yeah. And when you wake up, how do you feel?
Yeah, I just feel like I've literally been through a crazy, um, either falling off the clouds or falling off the sky. Something crazy has gone on with me, and that's it. But yeah, there's nothing surrounding it at all.
No. And it started when you were a child, about 6, you said.
Yeah,
Yeah.
6 or 7 years old, roughly there.
Yeah. Were there any big changes in your life when you were 6 or 7?
No, not that I can think back to
No.
anything. No,
I
nothing family-wise. No.
No, I have a feeling that even though I described that falling asleep thing at the beginning of the night, I have a feeling that this has been happening for you during the night. So you might either wake up fully during the night or wake up a bit to turn over. And then, as you turn over, you've obviously got to engage all the muscles in your body to turn over in bed. And then
Yeah.
they let go again. And then you've got that sort of free fall feeling as you fall into your soft mattress in your bed. And I have a feeling that's probably what's happening for you, simply because there's no emotion involved and because you've got quite an objective sense and interest there. So I think it's reflecting that feeling of falling. And because you had it as a child, your dreamy mind is probably there, oh, here we go again. I know what dream goes with this. This is like just falling through the air. Because otherwise, a dream where there's no emotion would be more like saying, well, where in your life are you going through something really tough, but you're going through it by withdrawing your emotions, by disassociating from it. And I don't get the feeling for this dream. I think it's a physiological process. But one thing I would suggest to you, and I'm making the suggestion, is that maybe next time you do it, maybe you could tell yourself during the daytime that next time you're in this dream, you're going to say to yourself as you fall, oh, this is the dream that I discussed with Jane Teresa. I'm dreaming, so I'm going to stop falling now. I'm just going to pull out my wings, aka my arms, and I'm just going to go for a fly around the planets and just enjoy that kind of total sense around feeling, because I think it's possible that if we put that suggestion there, you can do that. And it's not for interpreting the dream. It's not for achieving anything magnificent at all. It's just offering it as a suggestion for a bit of fun instead of falling.
Oh, that's amazing. I'll do that. That's actually that sounds very, very cool too. If I can remember it in my dream, I'll do it.
By just me mentioning it now, and by you maybe saying several times to yourself during the day when you're awake, next time I'm falling, I'm going to think, next time I have this sensation of falling, I'm going to know I'm dreaming and I'm going to fly. And just keep saying it to yourself, and you may be quite surprised that you actually program that in there. It becomes a lucid dream. You can do what you want.
I love that. Love that idea.
So what else have you got there?
Yeah. The second one is probably a bit more exciting than this one because I didn't have any emotions involved. The second one, I feel like yeah, it's an interesting one. But I don't want to give too much away because I want to tell you the dream first. Then
Okay.
I'll tell the emotion attached to it. So this one is again a recurring dream, but not as recurring as the first one. So this is a dream of having a tsunami in my dreams. Now, imagine that I am near a vast sea or ocean and I can see it rising higher and higher. One dream has literally been that, and I'm just watching it. And I'm like, oh, I'm scared. I'm scared, but I'm also aware that, oh no, it's not going to do anything to me. I know I can survive this.
Yes.
So there's one of that. If I give you a bit of visual, so imagine me standing and just looking at the sky, and there's like huge waves. Similar-ish, like tsunami related, but then they change slightly. Other sort of variety of the dream that I've had related to tsunami, which was a very recent one where I had my son and my husband, and I am standing there as I feel a lot of power in my dream. I feel like I'm very powerful, and I'm just like, you know what, this tsunami can't do anything. I just need to find my husband and my son, and I've got to get them to a safe place, and we are going to be okay. And so I'm looking at them, and my son is dancing, which is really odd. Um, and I'm just like, get away from there, get away from there. We've got to find a place to go, and we are going to be okay. This is nothing. This is going to be over soon. And yeah, it's very feeling orientated. That one is like the power.
Yes.
Um, and well, I'm just trying to think if there has been a variety, but most of them, there has been about 3 or 4 dreams over the last, I say, 7 years or 7 to 10 years, I think. And they've all been just me looking at the sky and going, oh, this is a lot. This is huge.
Yeah.
And I'm scared as well, but I am hopeful as well.
I love that hopeful. Hope is a wonderful thing to have. So this dream has been going on for 7 to 10 years. So whatever it is addressing, which we'll talk about in general terms, would have begun for you 7 to 10 years ago. So I don't know where you were 7 to 10 years ago. How old is your son now?
My son is 7.
7, yeah. So
yeah,
this dream may relate to the time that since your son has been born, or leading up to that when you were thinking of having a family. And I love the feeling, Sam, that you really feel and channel that sense of power in the dream, because it is a recurring dream. In a variation of it is a recurring dream for a lot of people, and they very rarely feel power. It's more like, I've got to run from this. This is terrifying. So your sense of power and hope is absolutely amazing and wonderful. I want to ask you first about the weird thing about your son dancing, because you said, oh, that's strange. Do you dance? What's your feeling about dancing?
Oh, I love dancing.
Do you?
Oh, absolutely. That's like my stress buster, dancing and singing, both.
Ah.
It would transport me in completely another world. And if I'm feeling stressed, that is my way to kind of go, yep, put the music on and dance.
That's absolutely beautiful. And that's really perhaps what your son was doing in the dream, because, he also saw the tsunami, but hey, I'm just going to do my stress busting move here. I'm going to dance. But it's interesting that you in the dream were thinking, what are you doing? This isn't the time for dancing. We've got to get out of here. We've got to get somewhere safe. So there's an element there of maybe sometimes you feel that when there's another part of yourself that's thinking, maybe as wonderful as dancing is for busting out of stress, maybe sometimes I need to do more than that. I need to get us to a safe place. There's more than just riding the stress storm. I need to find this place of safety. So you really got that lovely feeling of, you began the first rendition of the dream just by saying it's rising higher, it's rising higher, it's rising higher. So there's a sense there at the time of the dream that something that's probably quite emotional, it's rising higher, or it's rising higher, or is it going to get to a point in my life where I can't cope with this? And it might be emotional, it might be, work, anything that's kind of just a sense of, I'm not doing anything to stop this rising, and I'm not quite sure how I feel about this. I am scared, but I know that I'm going to be okay. So we've got that basic, your dream reflecting back to you, that's probably your approach to life, or has been since your son was born, or since you started thinking about having a family 7 to 10 years ago. I can, whatever's happening in my life, and however scared I get, I know I can do this because I am, in tune with my power. As long as I rearrange things to get them the best possible safe scenario, I know I can do this, and I have a great hope, which is good. The one with the 2 boys in it, your son and your husband. Often in our dreams, the people are not who they appear to be. They're all aspects of ourselves. So the double males, the two males that are close to your family, may or may not represent your inner male, the male side of yourself. And by that, I mean the left brain, I mean the yang as opposed to the yin. I mean, and in that sense, the left brain and the yang, I mean, the ability to organise and sort things in the outer world compared to the yin, which is the inner world. So you've got this sense in the dream that there's this thing that's coming higher and higher and higher, but I've got to sort out the outer world, the sun and all the male things here. I've got to sort these out. There's part of me that will just stress bust and dance through this, and hey, that's good in the moment, but I feel in this dream that I've got to do a little bit more than that. I've got to arrange, I've got to get my work or my outer world, whatever I relate to the outer world, safe. The feeling I get, Sam, is that the yin, the inner female, is really very powerful and very secure and very confident and very hopeful, as you say, and that you know deep down inside that's going to override anything else. But there's still this drive to, I've got to get the outer world stuff sorted out here.
Yeah, which is true now.
Does that make sense? How does that resonate?
Oh, it resonates perfectly now that you say it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, that is so true, because I'll tell you why, right? I feel that as a person, as Sam is okay. But if I am not organized, whether it would be just something as tiny as dinner isn't ready or lunch isn't ready on time or breakfast isn't ready for the kids or they're not ready for school or whatever the case may be, and that is the outer world.
Yes.
There's a constant battle.
Yes.
And I think there are a few things intertwined in that dream, and yeah, you've so beautifully explained it. That resonates.
That makes sense. So your quest or your task would then be to ask yourself, do I really need to get all those things organised in my outer world in order to feel safe and secure, or are some of those things more than I need to do? And other dreams might address that, and that's something to contemplate on your own as well.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Oh. That is quite powerful, I think, what you said.
Good. That's good.
Yeah. Inner and outer world.
Yes.
Do you want me to keep going? I've got another one for you.
Yeah, let's do one more, and then we'll turn the spotlight around on you. Well, yeah, your spotlight is on you, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh.
We'll move away from dreams and into other stuff. But yes, one more would be great.
So this is a fun one. So I am... this was recent, actually, about 2 weeks ago, it must have been. And a funny one. So this one doesn't involve tsunamis. This one involves snakes. Now, that's a common dream.
Yeah.
I remember this one vividly. It's quite funny. Now, again, it's a variation of a dream, a snake dream that I've had already probably, I'm going back in time, maybe a couple of years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'll connect the two, but I'll start with the older one first. So that dream, I was literally riding a bike, and I'm riding it over thousands of snakes. They're just thousands of snakes.
Thousands.
And I'm like, what? Like everywhere I look, there are snakes. And I'm like, again, it's kind of the tsunami feeling that I'm like, oh, I don't like this, but I'm hopeful that I think I know I'm in a dream, and I'm gonna uncover whatever this is. Like I'm scared, but I'm not scared. It's a funny feeling because my brain is trying to cope with what is going on around me. It's just all I see is a sea of snakes.
Yes.
And I'm just riding over them, and I'm like, all right, you know what? You can't get me. You can't give me your poison. I'm just gonna keep riding over you and keep killing you guys. It's like, how weird is that? And finally, in that dream, I felt really happy because I'm like, yes, I'm going to win this because I'm going to kill you guys. And so I start doing it, but by that time, I'm awake. So linking
it takes
back
a long
to this...
time to kill 1,000 snakes, so you probably have to wake up at that point.
And then the second, similar, but I didn't have 1,000 snakes, but it's definitely a snake dream. So I'm in my car, and is it a car or a scooter? Because I forgot a little bit about it. It was, yeah, I think it was like a convertible. Like, yeah, it was a car. And I'm driving and I'm just like killing the snakes in the air. I'm just like one, two, just, I've got something in my hand. I can't even remember what that was. And I'm just like, yeah, I'm going to get rid of you guys. And I'm just killing the snakes. And I'm thinking, what? And I woke up after that. Now, this one I didn't have much feeling at all. And it's probably because I don't vividly remember what happened, but I only remember the details that I was in something open and I was driving down the road. And I just had something to kill them. It's like, imagine something coming towards you and you're like just killing it with a sword or something.
Yes.
And that's essentially what it was. My dreams are quite entertaining.
They're entertaining and they are very, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
What's your feeling about snakes outside the dreams?
I don't like them. I get very scared of them. Yeah, don't like them. No. I'll get very scared if they're in the air. Probably not for me. I reckon I can deal with them. It's more the kids, and that's why I get really scared of them.
Yeah. So again, you've got that feeling of I can deal, I'm okay. It's something else. In waking life, it's the kids, but in your dreams, it's I'm actually okay, but I've got to put an end to this for other reasons here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
the second one was 2 weeks ago, so it will actually relate to something that was going on 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to look at that one first, then go back to the general one. So in this one, you're in a convertible. So, everything and everyone in a dream reflects something about the dreamer. So we might even say that you were being, you later on said I was in open car, that you were being open about something or thinking about being open about something or feeling a little bit exposed, but in a good sense because it's kind of driving down the road was quite good. Or you were being particularly flexible about something, convertible, or you're actually converting something into something else. These are all the several options here. But generally a sense of open and flexible and maybe in transit and changing something. And all these snakes are coming at you in the air. And I think I tried to write down quickly a couple of things you said. You said they were all coming towards me. So there might have been a sense a couple of weeks ago, not that snakes were coming towards you, but there's something. It's like, oh God, all these things are coming towards me in my life. It's like this thing, then there's this thing, then there's this thing. But I can do this. I'm in control. I can do this. I'm just going to kill them as they come up. I can handle this. You're doing it with your hands, your bare hands. There's that sense, and you feel powerful and able to do that, which I really like. And as you said at the beginning, was it a car, was it a scooter? Oh, it's a convertible. So again, a scooter would have been more open.
And more open, yeah. It was definitely, because I remember some windscreen in front of me, but no roof. So I'm thinking it would be that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's open, and the fact the snakes were in the air, which is a very funny place for snakes to be.
I know.
That's kind of like you've got the open, no roof in the car, and the snakes are kind of open too. They're not on the ground. Nothing's grounded. It's all up in the air. So, maybe there was a sense a couple of weeks ago of things being up in the air, feeling a bit open, maybe feeling a bit exposed, excited, but maybe a bit exposed. And yet, a bit like the tsunami, I feel all these things are coming towards me. I can deal with this, but does that kind of feeling relate to a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah, I reckon there's been a bit going on, just with the podcasting journey, and just my little one is going to go to daycare, so that's a new one. Me also looking for a role for myself in accounting. So I think, there's just been a few things going on, and I reckon that puts things in perspective.
That makes a lot of sense, particularly with the convertible. I'm converting from looking up after my little one at home to looking for a new role, and how am I going to feel about this? And maybe because the snakes are in the air, maybe air is invisible. Maybe it's like thoughts, it's feelings, it's thinking things through. It's not that these things are actually coming towards me, but in my head they are. They're sort of all coming at me. So if we then go back to the original dream, which was older, and you said that's been, did you say about 2 years, that dream?
That would have been probably about 2 years. I'm trying to remember if I had it when I was pregnant or was it before that. But I don't have a clear recollection of the timeline.
But somewhere you were either expecting your youngest son or you might have been thinking about having another one.
Yeah, thinking about, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this may be related to that before I look at the dream, even this sense of thousands of things that I have to deal with. It's very interesting, Sam, because not in your case, but often snakes, and you know there's no dream dictionary approach, but I'll often see snakes in people's dreams when they are, well, maybe it does relate a bit, when they're going through a lot of change in the same way that a snake will shed its skin, grow bigger, shed its skin and move on. So it can often be at a time of change. And people that, a lot of people associate snakes, have personal association with snakes, with things like it's the symbol for the medical profession, the snake twined around the caduceus. In dream interpretation, it goes back to about 300 years before the birth of Christ, when people in ancient Greece used to go to healing temples if they had a problem, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional. They go to the healing temple, they'd go into a room and wait for it. There'd be snakes all on the floor of the room, generally harmless snakes. And they had to go to sleep with the snakes. And then when they woke up in the morning, they'd tell their dream to the dream interpreters. And the main dream interpreter was Hippocrates, who is the father of modern medicine, the very same person, which is how the snakes got into the medical sign on the caduceus. So those snakes originally come from dream interpretation. And so people that kind of know that or are involved in medicine will often dream of snakes because it's somehow kind of entwined in that. I don't see that in you, but of course there is that possibility of the change, the shedding of the skin, as you say, you're looking for, or you, even back then, 2 years ago, looking for the job as a mother of 2 kids instead of 1, and then this time looking for another job. So there may be that. But generally the feeling was, to me, it was more, whereas your tsunami dreams were kind of water and coming and rising and out there on the water, which feels very emotional, these snakes have a similar kind of feeling, but they're on the ground. They're kind of more practical. They're right in front of you. It's kind of like, I'm actually going through this stuff right now. It's not something that I'm worried about. It's actually right here under my tires or under my bike. And I can see them. And again, you've got the sense of hope. I loved how you described it as a sea of snakes. But the things you say in a dream, or you talk about when you're in a dream, are usually quite significant. So you said to the snakes, "You can't give me your poison. I'll kill you."
Yeah, I'm just talking to them. It's a feeling, I think. It's not even that I'm talking to them.
That's really good. So now that could be all sorts of things, Sam. It could be that and in dreams can show us all sorts of things, including what we fear and what we feel. So they can be things that are actually happening in our life and we're feeling them, or things that are not happening but we're fearing them. So they can, include that. But there was a sense there of toxic. Let's change the word poison to toxic stuff around you that you wanted to. You can't give me your poison. So this could be any number of things. It could be a situation at work, in life, anywhere where you might have felt around a bit of toxic energy, and I don't want that toxic stuff in my life. I don't want that poison. It can even be on a really simple level. I don't know what your diet is like, but, cleaning up your diet, I don't want your poison. But it feels more like I want to clear my personal, professional life and cleanse it is the word I'm looking for, of toxins, toxic people around me, maybe toxic relationships, that kind of thing. The killing them sounds drastic, but it's really putting an end to something. And often in dreams, you put an end to something, it's for a new beginning. So in this sense, you'd be putting an end to the snakes to have an easier ride without all this toxic stuff, entering a period of more cleansing maybe. So again, it's a determination that I feel in the dream. Sam feels, you feel that there's all this toxic stuff around me and I'm over it. And I want to, it's thousands, it's just overwhelming. and I'm over it and I want to get it out of my life and I want to move on. How does that seem?
No, I reckon you're on the right track.
Do you,
Absolutely.
although there are lots of people listening, so don't say if you don't want to say or speak generally, but have you had a bit of a battle in the past with the sense of toxicity around you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Probably not at the time when I had the dream, which is why the timing of it is interesting, I feel. But again, taking from you that perspective of, it could be that it could be a cleansing the diet, maybe, or could be something else.
Yes.
But I don't think if I put it to maybe people perspective, like toxic people, I've had them in the past, absolutely, but that was years ago.
Yeah.
And I just decided to move away because sometimes conflict resolution with certain people is not the answer.
Yes. Quicker action is required.
and once you know that, it's like, okay, what is the next step? Let's just put an end to it.
Yeah. That makes perfect sense. So addressing the timing thing, the fact that you had already experienced that and learnt it could possibly mean that at the time of when these dreams started 2 years ago, that you may have anticipated, these are the kind of circumstances where this toxicity could arrive. I'm going to put an end to this before it begins. I know how to do this. Yeah.
Oh, this is interesting. Yeah, totally. Could be. Wow.
Okay.
It's so nice, isn't it? Just to get that, get your perspective on it, because I would move on. I may write it down because they're so weird in their own way and pretty entertaining. But
Yes.
but I would move on and I'll forget about it the next day.
Yeah, it really is. You can be purely entertained and enjoy it. But it does, you obviously don't have the time to look at every single dream, but to look at the ones that really stand out can add so much to your life. And when or if you identify blocks or limitations, then you can do dream alchemy to actually reprogram your unconscious mind to make life easier for you. So it is a huge and magnificent subject. And I'm going to change the subject and talk about podcasting. Not my podcasting, your podcasting. So as I mentioned in the intro, you've got the show with your partner, Level Up with Sam and Bala.
Mm-hmm.
And what inspired we all know now you have an extremely busy life with all these tsunamis and snakes and 2 little children. So when did you begin and what inspired you to begin?
We actually started the journey. It's going to be almost a year now. And from the moment I can think back, we met people who really inspired us. And I think over time, this thought came on our dinner table conversation where we thought, why don't we invite people and talk to them on our channel? And at that time, we didn't even know it was going to be YouTube or it was going to be Spotify or wherever that was going to be. But it was like, we just want to talk to some amazing people who have life stories to share, who have some lessons to share, and see if they would be willing to come on board. And lucky for us, that happened. And so happy that we could meet some amazing, truly amazing people. The life journeys that they've had and where they are, even whether it's their career or their life or their struggles. And it makes us feel that we belong, because we've been, and I think maybe your listeners might agree here that sometimes we get into our own life and we forget what's happening around us because we are just so busy in our own thing.
Yes.
And not just from that sense, I feel that we need to feel human sometimes. We need to know that whatever struggle we are going through is real and it's okay. Or whatever happiness we are going through, whatever it may be, without naming it, without naming that emotion, that it's real. And it's nice to see that we are not alone in going through what we are going through, or how I feel. And it's the best thing we ever did, honestly.
That is absolutely amazing. And you're also doing it once a week, which is a huge amount of effort.
It is. We have actually not been great lately, and that's primarily because looking after the little one is taking a fair bit of time. And we both want to produce really good content, which is going to add value to our audience. And so It's sometimes we are not able to do it weekly. We were away to see our families as well, back in India a few weeks ago, so we couldn't upload there.
Yes. Oh.
So, we are trying absolutely our best to stay weekly, and we are trying to get more organized in our own lives, to commit to it a bit better. And I reckon we'll get there eventually. We're just putting a few things in place now.
Oh, that's brilliant. All that after a year, you've come so far in that year. And you have an unusual approach because you don't co-host. One of you does. So how do you decide who is the host for each show? Or do you go out and get your own guests, or do you put your heads together, or what do you do?
That is such a great question. We actually the very first idea was to co-host, and the reason being because we both are different thinkers, and putting the heads together, it is quite funny, but I reckon it's going to be more entertaining for sure. However, because our little one had his nap times, and sometimes we were interviewing around those nap times, so both can't be available.
No.
And how we choose the episodes is literally just a connection, because we do pre-pod as well before our podcast episodes. And it's just a connection thing. Who feels more comfortable with which guest, and also from a guest perspective, how guest feels with the host. So it could be me or Bala. And yeah, we just go from there.
That's wonderful. Because very few people pre-pod. I do it occasionally. And so for people listening in, if you haven't realised what that is, it's when you spend maybe 10 minutes or so on a call a few days before or a week or so before, just so that you've got a bit of a connection, so that when you actually come on and press record, you've already met and you're comfortable about it. And it's a lovely feeling. That's great. Do you think there might be a time further down the track when your sons are older that you might co-host together to bounce off each other?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Even our studio now, we refurbished a little bit, and we thought it would be great. There are 2 mics now there, and there are 2 chairs. However, we still haven't been able to commit to it, to co-hosting. I'd love him to be part of it. I've said that to him many times now. But it's just we are not able to make it happen at the moment, but I reckon it will.
Yeah,
will definitely
you've got a fantastic show as it is, but getting that bouncing off each other, which adds another layer of spontaneity, which would be really good. How do you pick your guests? How do you choose? Is it people that you kind of a little bit know, or what do you do to find them?
Yeah, initially, yes, it was the people who were in our circle and friends who came forward and were willing to help us, which we were very thankful for. And also the biggest, our biggest thanks is to the referrals we get. So every guest who comes on board, we will always ask for feedback, what we could improve, and if they would be happy to extend a referral to their friends. And of course, depending on the topic, if they would be keen and to open their journey and open about their journey, and come talk to us.
Yeah, that's great. And how many of them come on with a kind of focus on, I'm going to tell you about my personal journey, and how many come on with more of a focus of, I want to talk about my career or this unusual thing that I've got to offer? What kind of variations do you have?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I've got a little bit of cough going on. Love Melbourne weather. We've got, that's an interesting one, because I feel there are people who we could, or there are guests that could offer us both career and personal. So we usually just ask our guests what they would like. Say, for instance, with yourself, it was more about the dream analysis. We've had a really close friend of ours who is a pilot, and there's so much to talk to him about. But his life journey was so interesting. And I reckon everybody's life journey is interesting. It's just a matter of if they are willing to be open about it. And if they are not, totally understand, we can then ask about the career.
Yes. So what kind of range of guests, or which ones, don't have to talk about me, which ones kind of stick in your mind as, that was a good episode, or that was a good subject, or that was a good story?
Oh, wow. There's some that absolutely stick, and yes, you're right, it's the personal journey. I We've got a couple of guests that I remember I spoke to a lady who was an accountant just like me, and she came on a boat with her parents here. And it was so tough because when I did the pre-pod with her, just to see her talking about that time, that was heartbreaking.
Yeah.
And they went through a lot. And I don't think she was that comfortable bringing that up on the podcast. So I did not prod. That's not what I'm there for. It is absolutely their comfort if they would like to share. But yeah, that was a very interesting interview because of what she had been through with her family and growing up in Melbourne years ago. Very different place, wasn't multicultural.
No.
So how resilient she would have to be throughout school, throughout uni, and we spoke about all that. And then she became a CA, and she went off to do her work in one of the largest investment banks in the world.
Wow.
Yeah, which I thought was quite inspiring. Really inspiring journey. And there are lots of other guests that I can pick as well that we've interviewed, both me and Bala, that have shared their journey. And the lessons they have learned, I think, is the key. That how one moment will shape you as a person, will shape your character, and how you think, as humans.
Yeah.
And that's intriguing. That's the best part of podcasting.
It is that curious approach that you're going in. You sort of know how the conversation might go, but you don't really. And something amazing comes out of it.
Yeah.
It's life-changing for you. And then you multiply that by the number of people that are listening. It'll be life-changing on different levels for different listeners. But there's at least one person listening who's going to remember that moment forever. And there's others who are going to absorb bits of it. And, it's the power of the story that you create with them that's doing that.
Exactly.
What are the... What's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned, not about podcasting, I'm going to ask you that later, but one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from from your guests that you've thought, oh, yeah, I'm so glad I interviewed them because that is meaningful for me and I'm going to really take that on board?
Yeah, no, a great question. I think, because I love patterns, and I think that all the guests that I've interviewed, or even Bala, because I'm involved heavily in the editing part work afterwards, I find there are pearls of wisdom that are very common across individuals. And some of them, if I could think from top of my head, one of them being a common thing that I've heard is you've got to focus on your job. Don't worry about the outside noise.
Yeah.
Just keep going. Your mum and dad may not agree that you want a podcast. Your sister, brother may not agree you want a podcast, and they won't be your best supporters. And that's actually true in our case.
Yes.
But I mean, taking podcast as an example, but in general, they say just keep doing what you are doing and put your best foot forward and ignore the noise. There will be people who say, no, don't do it. Don't do this, don't do that. You believe in it, go for it. It's your failure to own. It's your success to own. End of the day.
Yes, that's so wonderful.
That's
true. Yeah.
I firmly believe in it. I've believed in it. I went through some really tough times in my probably from 19 to 2021. Quite tough. And that's as I was saying about toxicity. Like I'd eliminated some people that were around me at the time, and I'd learned that lesson that. There will be people who are quite close to you would harm you the most sometimes because they can say things that will be very hurtful.
Yes.
And I decided that, no, that's okay because I feel like it's my success and it's my failure. And if I don't go through that, I'm not going to learn. So that's always stuck with me, I think. And that's a common theme I got from our guests. I'm trying to think of others.
Well, I mean, that speaks to your sense of power as well, doesn't it? Powerful and hopeful. I know that I can keep going through this and I can do this. And, and it speaks beautifully to that sense that I guess I'm picking up from you, that people kind of innately know what to do and what to dedicate their time to, whether it's work or the personal life or whatever, and that it is, as you say, the other people's expectations or voices that can veer you from that path. So it's having confidence that you do know what you're doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is that. And I've also asked a couple of people this, that what is confidence? What does confidence mean to you? And it's quite interesting that you point this out as well. And I feel it's that midpoint of being yourself and being very clear-headed. So it doesn't go into arrogance that you would take it to your head either, but it's just like, okay, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. I'll deal with this. And if I don't, I'll get support or help around that. And that is another important lesson I feel I've learned. But this is the funny part with confidence. I feel it's a muscle, and it only gets better the more we push it, the more we play with it and try it. Like working out in the gym and doing those body pump classes or picking up weights or whatever that might look like for someone, or even running or walking. End of the day, you are going to get, with consistent effort, you are going to get healthier and fitter, whatever someone's goal may look like. But yeah, I really think that it's a muscle. Yeah. And it gets better with your any struggle we are going to have, we are going to learn something. The good times we are going to have, you're going to learn something. And yeah, that's really interesting.
It's just the first step. The first day you set out and go, what is confidence? How do I do this?
Yeah,
like the first trip to the gym that you don't really know what you're doing, but the more you do it, the more you build on it, the more you've got it.
The more you build it.
Yeah. You mentioned there that you do editing of the podcast, and I think most of our listeners know that my son does sound editing, but we don't actually cut anything out unless, I think, if someone goes into complete coughing spasm for half an hour, we'll cut that out. But otherwise, we do kind of just natural. Partly because it's a huge amount of work editing it as well. So I'm very impressed. Did you have to learn the editing skills to do it?
We did. We were both in nervous breakdown, literally, when we had our first guest on board, and that was my doula for my second bub.
Yeah.
That was our very first episode that we loaded on the 18th June, I think, from memory, if I've got the date right. And I didn't know anything. So it was learning from scratch, and sometimes we also watched YouTube videos to sort of understand what it is. And even before going for editing, we were like, what software are we going to use? How are we going to even produce this? How are we going to interview? What mic is good for this? And then what is the budget? How much money are we going to spend on the items? How do we want to, where is the good spot to, we are still going through the changes, Jane.
I bet you are. But I love the fact that you made the commitment and then asked the questions, which is a bit like how I approach things. But as an accountant, as a financial person, that's quite different. But it's the confidence, it's the knowing this is the direction to go in. And you're still learning, you say, you're still...
Oh, absolutely. I reckon that would never stop. There's always a better way. I am quite self-critical. So every time I would have an interview and I'd go, and because we are organic, just like yourself, I would be like, oh, I could have asked that. Oh, I could have done that better. I could have done this better. That's it,
But rather than berate yourself, you learn from that and think, next time, maybe I'll do this, maybe I'll do that.
Exactly. Yeah. I'll just make a note.
Yeah. And one interesting thing that you do is that you made the decision not to go on podcasts or Spotify. You're totally on YouTube. What made you decide to do that?
It wasn't a decision at all. It just happened, primarily because of the lack of time. Eventually we sort of wanted to give ourselves the time and just focus on one social media platform rather than going on everything.
Yes.
So we have LinkedIn, which we obviously because of both of our careers, and mainly YouTube, and it's just worked out that way because of time.
Yeah.
Just time commitments.
And that's very sensible. And, people have occasionally said, I have one person I spoke to last week, I don't know if she's going to listen because it's someone that I know in the flesh. And she said, she won't listen because this is a story. She said, I would love to listen to your podcast, but I can't listen to things when they don't have visuals. And I said, well, you don't have to listen to my podcast, but, could you walk down the street and look at the sea or look at the flash? She says, no, I need to see visuals that are related to what I'm hearing. So, so I got the feeling from her and other people I've spoken to that people do really want to see. There's a big market for people that want to see the faces as well. I stayed audio because it's how we've been doing it for 16 years. So that's not a good excuse to do it. But also I think originally because it's very personal with the dream stuff. So I wanted people to feel comfortable that they weren't on camera and that they can be listened to without being on camera. But I think you're right. I think, a lot of people, it's the camera that they want. And YouTube, this is all completely unknown, isn't it? But we have this feeling that YouTube is going to go on forever. You put out a video, you can't grab it back. It's out there. It's legacy. And we don't know what's going to happen to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, do we? We don't know if that's legacy. And that's why, I can't remember how many, but I think the last, 50 or so of my podcasts, I started to put out on YouTube as audio as well, as a kind of legacy channel. So that, at least with all this hard work, at least it's out there somewhere.
It's out there, it's somewhere.
when I'm out there in a different sense, I'm not in the body anymore. This stuff may or may not be helpful to people, but it's out there. So I think you've chosen a good legacy channel. What would you say has been the biggest challenge for you and or for you and Bala in podcasting?
I think staying the course. I feel because brain loves negative thoughts and that's just how it operates. And it will tell you, oh, you're not good enough and you should just stop. Just let it go, pick it up another time. And I think just getting over those thoughts, which I feel now we are in a good place as opposed to where we were when we started. But I think just running it at the quality that we want, running the content at that quality with the other commitments that we have is the hardest thing because we do want to be there for the kids and our kids are not on iPads or they are completely reliant on playing board games just like we were raised. So they need us.
That's brilliant. Yeah.
And that also means a lot of pressure on us as parents. And I guess balancing that pressure with producing quality content has been the biggest challenge, no doubt.
Yeah. Well, you've done an absolutely brilliant job and, you've as you've described, you've got the commitment for it and you know where you're going with it. Well, just a couple of last questions. One is for people listening in who are so inspired to think, I'm going to start a podcast. What would be your one piece of advice to them?
Just do it.
Yeah, good.
Don't think about it. Don't let brain take over all that goodness that's in you. I think that's one sentence. Just do it.
Just do it.
You'll learn a lot. Learn absolutely heaps.
Yeah.
Just call your friends, have a chat.
That's how I think about it. I'm having a chat. Yeah.
Don't need to have everything worked out. Just have a chat.
I think it's better if it's not worked out. I think it's better if it's not worked out.
I agree.
Yeah, it's spontaneous. Yeah, and it's easier to listen to. Sometimes I listen to podcasts to entertain myself, but also to a little bit critique, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I've noticed. It's the chats which appear to be informal, really spontaneous, that are really come across. Otherwise they can be, if they're too organised, you can see where they're going. And the guest becomes a little bit, their voice tends to get a bit monotonous in the way they're delivering. And that is when I zone out, oh, what was that they said? Oh, what was that they said? Oh, I lost the plot. Whereas if it's a lively chat conversation, there's something about the delivery of the speech that keeps you, involved and activated.
100%.
Yeah. So just one last question. I already know the answer. It's how people can contact you. And I know that, you've got the show is called Level Up with Sam and Bala. That's Bala, isn't it? Level Up with Sam and Bala is easily found on YouTube. And you've wanted to give your LinkedIn account as the other way for people to contact you?
Yeah, I can send you the details. Absolutely. Yes, I
Yeah.
will do that.
I'll put
Happy to
it
connect.
in. I'll put it in the show notes if you're listening.
Yeah, no
The
problem.
LinkedIn will be in the show notes. So
Easy.
yeah, I think I think we need to wrap it. We could talk for a long, long, long time, but you've got things to do. I've got things to do. So thank you so much for being a lovely guest on the Dream
My
Show,
pleasure.
Sam. Thank you.
My absolute pleasure.
I enjoy the spontaneity of a good podcast conversation as much as I enjoy getting to know a guest through the dream they bring to the occasion. You can find Sam's podcast, Level Up with Sam and Bala, on YouTube. And you can contact Sam through her LinkedIn profile at LinkedIn/in/Sammy Ramachander. That's SAMY, Sammy Ramacharma. Ramachander, and I've put that link in the show notes. Thank you, as always, to Ewan Gray for sound editing and composing our theme music. And to make sure you don't miss any of our future episodes, please hit the follow button at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you normally listen on my website, please pop over to Apple or Spotify, search for the show, search for The Dream Show with Jane Teresa Anderson, and hit follow there, because your follow helps more people discover the show in the first place. It's a numbers game. Thank you for listening to yet another episode of The Dream Show. You can find out more about my services, books and courses at janeteresa.com. That's Teresa without an H. Have a beautiful day. I'm Jane Teresa Anderson.